Hey guys, welcome back to Chapter in Ash. I am super glad to have you here, sending some positive vibes your way, especially if you need them out there today. Today we're going to run down my top 10 fantasy books of all time. Now, I love this genre, but as I say, hopefully at the beginning of all these videos, I may have forgotten in a list or two, these are books that I've read, so I have not exhausted every fantasy novel out there. Moreover, I do have others to read on my list. In a couple of these series, I'm actually midway through, and I will point those out as I get to them. So anyway, without further ado, here it is, my top 10 fantasy books of all time. Coming in at number 10 is going to be A Princess Bride by William Goldman. Princess Bride, I actually really love this movie. I was really late to the movie, and I read the novel from 1973 after I saw the movie. This is great. I mean, it's really I don't want to say a satire, but it's a fun, fictional, kind of satirical twist to fantasy that doesn't take itself too seriously. But it does the satire to fantasy in a way that is incredibly respectful and really a good entry point for a lot of readers out there into the genre. I love it. I mean, they've got giants, they've got villains, they've got fencing, they've got it all, right? Who can forget that amazing fencing scene in the actual movie? It's gonna be the best sword fight of all time, hands down, bar none. I don't care. What can you even put up against that? Either way, the book I found witty, I found humorous, an easy, enjoying read. That's why it comes in at number 10, A Princess Bride. Coming in at number 9 is A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, of course. So I've read only the first 2 books in this series. I read the first book before the actual HBO series, and then I read the second book after the HBO series, but I've seen the entire HBO series. I am a huge fan of the series. I am probably one of the 1% or less that actually liked it from beginning to end. I didn't even mind the ending. Crazy, I know. I think the Red Wedding and surrounding events, both in the novels as well as the show, are some of my most powerful and most memorable scenes in all of fantasy, just bar none. It might be my most powerful, number 1 in terms of epic moments, right? And that's what I love about Game of Thrones. It kills off main characters left and right, and I'm a high stakes reader. I love when they kill main characters in books. I think it takes some cojones for an author to do that, and certainly Martin does have those and then some. This is more of I guess it veers on the side of political. It was actually, this series, Game of Thrones, a lot of people don't realize, was actually based on real medieval times, right? The War of the Roses. So really, really cool. I think it was meant to be actually a series for DOS way back in the day, so like a game around it as well. There's a lot of politics in this series, and I really enjoy that, right? So it's not that I didn't enjoy it, well, I don't have it higher on the list. I just enjoyed a few novels a bit more and series a bit more. And as I said in the very first video on this channel, you know, it depends on when these books hit you, right? When you read them, how receptive and available you are to be touched by a specific novel, and that applies to all novels of all genres. And this one hit me at a good time, but it doesn't pack the nostalgia points maybe as a few others on the list that I'm about to recommend. Speaking of that, let's move on to number 9. Coming in at number 8 is Piranesi from 2020 by Susanna Clarke. She actually wrote this book when she was battling chronic illness herself, and it really has a unique flavor, I would say, compared to any other book on this list. This is not epic battles and crazy fantasy scenes like so many of the other novels on this list are. It's more quiet, it's more introspective. It's about a solitary man living in this big endless labyrinth, right, of statues and mysteries and tides, and it's really just it's a really eerie and dark but almost, I don't know, philosophical setting in this novel. It really has this awe, this melancholy kind of layered onto it. It's kind of a slow burn. It borders, like I said, on kind of a philosophical novel, which I absolutely love. It's haunting, but yet beautiful at the same time. I don't want to give anything away because I want to keep all of this on the channel spoiler free, but man, I really dug Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I think it's a good book for people who might not be traditional fantasy fans, but still want to explore the genre. Check it out. Coming in at number 7 is The Way of Kings from 2010 by Brandon Sanderson. Now, this is kind of a placeholder for the entire Stormlight Archives series here. I am just finishing up book 2. so maybe a little bit unfair to put this on the list, but then fair at the same time because I've completed this book technically. Okay, so number 7, a lot of people probably have this top 3 on their list as well. I read it most recently. This is my most recent read out of everything on this list. It was highly recommended, and I can totally see why. This is an absolute just gargantuan world, right? Talk about world building. Talk about a lore that kind of envelops everything that happens in this novel, but it doesn't seem like Sanderson is kind of shoving it down your throat at the same time. It happens seamlessly. It's easy. It's an easy read, but it's long AF, like super, super long books. I actually switched over to audiobook for this one. I kind of enjoyed a little bit more. That being said, it is an easy read, right? And that's what keeps it at number 7 and not like kind of top 3 for me. I definitely enjoy it, hence it making the list over some really bangers as well. But for me, I like it I like a little bit more grit, as you'll see as we get to my number 1, right? I like a little bit more grit in my fantasy. I don't know, this reads a little bit at times kind of like YA, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have a young adult book coming up on the list as well. So there's nothing wrong with that, but just where I am right now, I look for a little bit more, I don't know, gore. There's like no romance in these books. So that's kind of, I shouldn't say no, I should say just very little, right? That being said, there's really cool, I think Sanderson's known for having like this rich kind of magic system, kind of this mysterious intrigue around these big overarching questions that kind of follow you through the series. Some mysterious characters. My personal favorite is Wit so far. I love the protagonist. So I love a lot about this book. So I felt like I was knocking it for the first 2 minutes that I had it here. Not at all. I was just saying that a book that a lot of people I feel like put very high. I put really solid. It makes the list at number 7. All right, coming in at number 6 is Time of the Twins, 1986 by Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman. So this is where nostalgia starts creeping into the list, the next few entries for sure, because I'm sure a lot of people will be like, dude, you're really going to put Dragonlance ahead of some of the Stormlight Archives and Game of Thrones? I can only speak true to what I enjoyed, again, when it hit me. So I strongly recommend all of these books, right, that I have on the list. Anyway, Time of the Twins is Dragonlance. Like back in the day, in the 80s and the early 90s, I was ripping through these things. Personal favorite is also Kaz the Minotaur. I didn't have that on the list, but man, I really enjoyed these books. I love the epic fantasy. It can be a little tropey maybe, but if you want Dragonlance, stick to the 2 series I'm going to mention here. If you want to dive in, I still think they hold up today. Perfect for those who like some tension, some tragedy, and really it's Shakespearean. I truly feel that way. These twins, Cameron and Rastalin, right, who, you know, I don't want to give away anything again, but there's tragedy. One kind of veers towards the evil. One twin kind of veers towards the good, and really epic fantasy ensues, right? So I really love Time of the Twins. It's a trilogy, I believe. It's been about a decade or 2, but it's a trilogy and definitely worth checking out after the next recommendation on this list. And that's right, the next one on the list is Dragons of Autumn Twilight. Again, a trilogy, 1984 by Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman. This is, again, Dragonlance, the second Dragonlance entry into the top 10 here, and I love this one, man. This is a great place to start. This is the place to start if you want to get into Dragonlance. This is like old school mages, rogues, D&D, right? It's like Dungeons and Dragons in a novel, but it's not too D&D. If you're not a D&D fan, you're not like rolling dice as you're playing. You're just along for the epic ride. I love it. There's so much nostalgic joy. It almost feels like you are on this mission with this band of kind of misfits that reunite basically in this novel to fulfill kind of an ancient prophecy, right? I think that's a good setting for you guys. Really memorable characters. It's really like a joyful read, right? It's fairly easy read, but it does have some depth in terms of the character development and stuff like that, and a pretty good plot as well. So Dragons of Autumn Twilight trilogy, I think it's the best that Dragonlance has to offer. Really stick with Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman either way. That comes in at number 5. Number 4 is the young adult, or maybe even less than young adult. I don't know how you'd classify it, but this is one of my favorite series of all time, and it's Redwall by Brian Jacques. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, so I apologize. I've read it a billion times. You ever have anything like that? You read a name or something a million times, you've said it a certain way in your head, but you've actually never heard it out loud? That's me with the Redwall and Brian Jacques, man. This series is my childhood personified. I mean, it's it for me, you know. I'm sure that, you know, a generation or two after me might feel this way about maybe Harry Potter, but the Redwall series was, I think I started reading them in 4th or 5th grade, and I would just churn through these things, and they still hold up. I still read them to my son nowadays. He's 8, maybe a tiny bit young, but still he loves them. I just think this is the best kind of, I don't know how to categorize this, but it's about mice. It's not just mice, it's about animals, right? Animals are the protagonists, are all the characters, the villains. But Jacques has such memorable villains, storylines. I never thought that Martin the Warrior and Matthias and all these characters who are mice would still be with me today, almost as a source of like strength that I look to. I remember, in times that I need some sources of inner strength, right? It sounds crazy, but this is what we do. This is our nostalgia fiends like yours truly. Hopefully you can relate. I think this is a perfect read for a younger demographic, or to read to your child. I would say anywhere from, I guess, maybe 2nd grade for early, on the early end, all the way up until like middle school and even high school. This is the perfect entry point, and this was the origins of my love for fantasy. That is the Redwall series. There's a ton of them, and they're all pretty damn good. Number 3 is The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan, 1990. So this is a big series that I have high on the list, right? After snubbing maybe of the few more popular ones earlier. I don't even consider it a snub again, but I just know, I know what the comments are going to be like on some of these videos. But true to my heart, my favorite of the most popular, I will say, series out there is The Eye of the World, or The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan, the entire series. I have not read the entire series. I have not read the Brandon Sanderson books. Again, Sanderson, nothing but love and respect for, but Robert Jordan is a little bit more my style. This has the everything that you'd want in a classic, big, huge world, huge, massive storylines, deep characters. It has the whole fantasy structure, right? You have magic, you have destiny, you have massive adventures and journeys and really memorable characters, right? Really starts where these mysterious strangers arrive in this quiet village, right? 5 young friends are then thrust into a sprawling world of danger and fantasy. I'm going to pretend I didn't read that from the the book cover. But anyway, guys, The Eye of the World is worth checking out, right? I think there's a mini series. I haven't actually caught it out there. Is there? I think there is. But I want to check it out. Do you guys recommend it? Let me know if you do. To me, this is, at least when it hit me when I read it, this is the most memorable, or maybe the second most memorable, stay tuned for number 1, out of all the fantasy series that I've read out there. It's one of those books that you, when you're done with it, you can't wait to start the next one. And then when you're done with the series, even though I'm technically not because I haven't read the Sanderson, many people don't realize this is only supposed to be a 6-book series. But then posthumously, he actually, I guess before he died, Robert Jordan that is, he kind of told Brandon Sanderson, here's how I want the story to end, and then he picked up and finished the series, which is really cool. I haven't heard of anything like that. I'm sure it's been done before, but not to my knowledge. Either way, I can't wait to finish the series by Brandon Sanderson. It's quite near to the top of my list, but I have to finish the Stormlight Archive first, or at least catch up on that series before I can move on. TLDR, if you're looking for sprawling, epic world building, long but worth it, you'll remember it all your life. You ever finish a series and you feel like this is going to be a part of me like forever? I'll always think about these characters and this story and this adventure. That is, for me, The Wheel of Time, starting with The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. Number 2 is The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. That is 1954 into 55. This is the OG, the granddaddy of fantasy. Tolkien is insanely good. It still holds up and then some. I will say, I tried to read this to my son, and this one didn't hold up. I mean, I should say it held up, but not age appropriate for 8-year-old. This one is more dense, I would say, than I had recalled, than I had remembered, right? I think I read this in maybe middle school, and I think that's probably an appropriate age to get into it. Either way, for adults nowadays, I mean, we think about Lord of the Rings now, we think about, you know, The Hobbit now, we think about, at least I think about, the movies a big part of me, right? Because they were so dang good, for good reason. But man, these novels hit differently because I started reading it to my son, and I realized a little bit above his head, especially with the language a little bit. Tolkien is a little, like I said, a bit deep, right? More technical. I don't know the word for it, right? But either way, I went on to read it myself afterwards, right? I kind of bailed on reading to the kiddo, and I was like, damn, this is freaking good, like really good. I hadn't read it since high school, before that. So gosh, over 20 years. And man, I love it. I love it. I love it. It's the foundation, like I said, for modern fantasy. Such an epic adventure. It feels like every word is almost sacred in The Lord of the Rings, right? It's like canon. It's really crazy. Tolkien didn't even see himself as an author, right? He saw himself as a translator. He framed The Lord of the Rings as an ancient text that he recovered and translated from a fictional Red Book of Westmarch, right? So you can go into the whole Middle-earth kind of a trilogy as well. I could have easily included those books, and I'll have future fantasy lists as well here on the channel. I can't wait to dive into some more obscure titles, and I want to go through some of the Fantasy Award winners as well over the years, so I can't wait for what's in store. But hey, without further ado, let's move on to number 1. So if you saw my top 10 books overall video, you already know my number 1. It is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, part of the First Law trilogy. And oh my God, this was meant for me as a reader. I'm going to give you the same rationale that I gave in that previous video when I talked about this trilogy. I love it because I like dark fantasy. I mentioned that earlier, right? This is in some ways the antithesis to Sanderson, at least in my limited experience, right? I haven't read every book by any of these authors. Just to be, again, transparent to you guys, I haven't read some of the ones people are going to be like, where's like Red Rising? I haven't read it, right? There's a lot that I haven't read, just like anybody else out there. But man, The Blade Itself, the first book in the First Law trilogy, is absolutely brilliant to me, right? It's more real. It's more violent. It's more funny. It's more satirical. It's deeply human from start to finish. It still has a lot of the, the classic themes that we look for, obviously, in fantasy, right? There's a lot of battles. There's great villains. Some of the best villains. Man, I need villains. And there's some ambiguity around who's good and who's bad, right? I like that. It feels so much more real than the knight in shining armor and the dark wizard every single book, and it's clear who's good and who's bad, and there's no ambiguity there. That's not real life. And I know this is fantasy. It's not supposed to be real life, I guess, but I like a little bit more realism, and Joe Abercrombie, it oozes through everything that he writes. If I was going to make one recommendation for somebody who hasn't read any of these books, it would be The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. It is a beautiful but also deep, dark, and satisfying read and trilogy. And it goes beyond that. I think there's I haven't read anything beyond the trilogy, the main trilogy, but there's a bunch of, I believe, books like themed in the same universe as well. If you have a recommendation, let me know. Speaking of recommendations, that's my top 10 fantasy books, guys. Thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. Let me know, drop me a recommendation. Which of these books have you read and you love? Which have you read and you didn't love? And which books did I not mention that you think I should read next? Thank you so much for the support here. Thank you for watching till the end of the video. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.